My first question, I want to talk about what's happening at the moment. I want to talk about your last show because you had such a huge buzz around your spring summer, and I think that must have been a lot of pressure and quite a lot of hype, but then the reviews for autumn winter have been amazing. So how's that felt for you?
It's been amazing actually. But yeah, because my spring summer was my first solo show, and I showed off schedule in London, and I felt I really had something to say, so that's why I wanted to say it. And it was received, so I was delighted, but it led to sponsorship this season and being on the schedule for autumn winter. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking, because I felt like, shit, you've given me this now, I need to do something well. But I'm delighted with how it went and how people perceived it. Yeah.
I think what a really nice thing about autumn winter was is you showed on the same day as your father, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And I think many people thought that was a really sort of poignant, nice moment in fashion. How did that feel? Was that a pressure to you, or did you think about it?
It was pretty hectic because it was kind of amazing, you know, to both be showing on the same day, and people were saying when they were queuing in to go into Dad's in the tent that my show was on the screen outside from being in Somerset House that day. But it was also a bit hectic because then obviously Dad ran in, came to mine, and then got up, ran out, went to his. Then after mine, ran to his. My brother and my mum both work for the two of us, so there was a lot of running. But luckily there was just a courtyard. But it was really special, and I think it was probably the first time in London that a family had shown on the same day, but with their own labels. So it was definitely poignant.
I'm interested also in Ireland, because Ireland's such a huge part of your designs, and I think you can see that in both your references but also in sort of the craftsmanship behind it. So you've referenced things like the pony kids and traditions from certain islands and around Ireland.
Yeah.
Do you still consider yourself very much an Irish fashion designer?
I do. My mother's Irish and I was born in Ireland, and I lived there until I lived here 4 years ago. And for me, what I love about Ireland is that it's got roots, and it's not only my roots, but I think the country has great roots. And I think when looking for inspiration and research, that if you look to something that you feel connected to, you get so much more out of it. So that's why things like the traditions of the women in the Aran Islands inspired my MA collection, where they wear the veils when they're mourning. And but then that was also taken from a visit myself to my granny's graveyard in Burr, County Offaly. And when she passed away, she left me all her mass cards. And I just, you know, you get something much more out of that than seeing something in a gallery sometimes. But I think you need both. But I do definitely think of myself as an Irish designer, and but based in the UK.
I want to talk to you about moving to London, because you came to London to the Central St Martin's course to do your MA. Did you find that, how was the change for you?
It was, I always wanted to come to London. Since I was a teenager, once I went into college, I always came for shows with my parents, and started assisting when I was like 11, and then 14 really assisting. And I just thought London was so exciting, and then I came and interned in Dazed and Vogue and stuff when I was younger, and I was like, I need to make the move. The reason I came was to go to St Martin's, and but it was a big change. You know, Ireland's like a village, and it's very green, and then to be here was just like, holy shit. And especially to be, I came and went straight into the MA, and that was probably the most intense time I'd had ever in my life, and it's still pretty high up there in intensity. And so it felt like I was on a different planet, but it didn't even feel like I was in London. It felt like I was just in the bubble in college, and that was my whole life for like nearly those 2 years.
Was it equally intense when you were at Fashion East? Because obviously you were there for 2 seasons, I think it was. How did you find that experience?
Yeah, Fashion East was amazing. It was something I never thought that I would do personally, because initiatives like Fashion East and New Gen, they're all obviously in London, and I didn't actually, before I came here, I didn't know very much about them. And even when I was in college or in the bubbles, you're not really thinking about what you're going to do afterwards. So it was a completely different experience. And after the MA show, Lulu got in contact saying would I like to come and meet her, and I was like, Jays, there's no way I'll get Fashion East because my collection was black and it was tailored, but she could see something in it, and it was an amazing nurturing experience showing with Fashion East for those 2 seasons. And I think for me it was the best thing I could have done, because I don't know if I was ready to brave it alone, and it was a huge learning curve.
I'm interested by what you say about that your collection was all black, your MA collection, and you were surprised that Lulu had seen something in that. Do you compare yourself to what other young designers are doing? Because I think it is definitely the case that your aesthetic does stand alone and you are doing something different. There's not that kind of those colours and those prints that we're seeing a lot of other young designers doing.
Yeah, like I feel super lucky because what I do is really innate to me, and I think timing was on my side, and I think I like as much as I like understand and I'm interested in print, and but it's not for me. And I think if you look at other people, you're not looking at yourself, and you need to look at yourself first and then put that out into the universe. But I can definitely see a difference. Like before I went into college, bodycon was very much the thing that was going on at the time, and I was never going to do bodycon. I wouldn't even know what to do. So I put a lot of it down to timing.
You say that your clothes kind of come from within and something that's very personal to you. Do you find that you design for yourself? Do you think about yourself as kind of the Simone Rocha woman?
I'm probably scruffier than the Simone Rocha bird, but I think for me, I'm removed from it, and I don't go, oh yeah, I want this dress, but at the same time I would like to be able to embody some of the collection, and I feel then it's sincere, you know what I mean? I feel it's sincere to me if it is a part of my aesthetic.
We've talked a little bit already about kind of the incredible response that you've had to your shows, but I want to talk to you about one particular person who I'm sure you get asked about a lot, which is obviously the sort of Lady Gaga moment that you had. There was the Elle cover, but also her just wearing your designs. About how did that feel? Because I don't think people would naturally say that she was kind of your woman as such, but she really made those clothes work for her.
I know, like it was the last thing I personally had expected, because like you said, it wasn't exactly like my woman, and but I really think she embodied it to her. I'm a big believer in people's own personal style, and I would like what I do to be able to integrate into somebody themselves, and I think she was able to I think she did that. But it was definitely a moment, and then my uncle, who's a doctor, knew who she was and was really impressed and that kind of thing. But and especially the Elle cover, because I was actually in New York at the time, in a showroom with the British Fashion Council who sent me over, and I just got a phone call from a PR being like, it's on the cover, and I was like, okay, thanks. And then I was like, Jesus, what do I do now? But it was definitely an exciting moment, because everyone looks at her, and it was really nice because obviously she saw something in what I did and wanted to be a part of it. So I was really touched. and completely surprised.
I want to talk to you about your aesthetic because it's something we've kind of toyed with and what we've been talking about already. You're often described as, it's a very tired fashion phrase, but it's this kind of femininity with a masculine twist. It's often said about your clothes. But I think there is a definite kind of gender aspect to what you do. Is that something that's intentional? Do you think about that a lot?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think innate to me, like, I think I could make really feminine romantic clothes, but that's not what excites me. What excites me is knocking it off kilter, and for me it's bringing boys into the situation, and it's like, I think what makes it fresh and interesting is about giving it a toughness, and that's like why I look a lot to like real people, and I think it can be really saturated if it's like, unless it's so feminine that it's a cake and then it's like ironic and it's like gross, and then it'd probably be good. But I think it's about a balance and it's about a contrast, and I know it's a really classic concept, but I feel it works into my work all the time, whether it's in fabrication or whether it's in researching. You know, this season for the autumn winter I had all my pictures out, and I'd have the kids in Cherry Orchard up against the people from Papua New Guinea, and it's about seeing both of those images and then pulling it together and then putting it into a garment and refining it. But it's about that mix.
That leads quite nicely into an item that I do want to talk to you about, which is your Perspex heeled brogue, and we talked about that a little bit more before the interview started, and I know that's something that's had a lot of airtime, but
yeah,
what was the thought behind that, and how did you feel about the reaction to that?
It's amazing. I think when I go, all that'll be left will be this shoe staring at me. But it's what it was originally was I actually have had a fascination with brogues for years. My mum used to wear a lot of Comme des Garçons brogues when I was growing up, and I was always like, why are you wearing lads' shoes? And but I thought they were so beautiful, and I got a pair of Churches when I was 16, and I wore them to death till the holes went in them, and I loved the solidness of the classicness of the shoe, and so then I was thinking for the next season, and it was all about kind of elevating these classic pieces, like I was doing pea coats and Crombie coats, but I was trying to elevate them to something feminine that came through in the fabrication. And I was like, well, how can I elevate this classic brogue? So we put it on its tippy toes with the Perspex. And what it was because I wanted a fabric that related, what really interested me in like the tulles and that fabrication was that it was see-through. So it was playing tricks. So on the body, you know, it could look like you were missing a piece. And then I was like, I need that in a strong fabric. So, and then I was like, no, I need in something much more that it can be constructed. And I'd used Perspex the previous season in accessories for that reason, and then in bags. And I was like, well, maybe we can work it into the shoe. And yeah, it gets a lot of airtime. But yeah, it was about kind of bridging that gap of always, me personally, I feel much more comfortable in a flat shoe, because I feel like I'm going to fall over if I'm in a high heel sometimes. And it was really about being able to wear a flat shoe, like a chunky masculine classic shoe, but still be ladylike. So that's where it came from.
What do you think about for the future for you? Like, London seems important to you. Do you want to stay in London, or?
Yeah, I love London, and I love the energy here, and I love the support I have here, and so I can't see myself going anywhere else anytime soon. But in the future, I just hope to still do what I do and hopefully do it well, keep showing, keep making clothes and hopefully people still wearing clothes. That would be good too.